These kind of look the same, but in this picture, drifting is snow from the ground lifted by the wind. So you see these little streaks of snow going across the pavement. That is what we would consider drifting snow. That snow is not coming from the sky. That snow is already on the ground, and the wind has picked it up and started to move it around. So in the winter, when it is very windy, there's a lot of drifting. Snow from the ground lifted by the wind, and then it often gets deposited somewhere else, usually in a snowdrift. So let me get this picture a little bit bigger for you. You can see here that this fence has caused the snow to pile up. Let me explain this a little bit. When wind picks up snow, when there is drifting, if there is something like a fence, when the wind hits it, the snow falls. So if you have a fence or a car or something outside where the snow is drifting, so it's being carried by the wind, and then when the wind has to go around, for some reason the snow will fall. Actually, it usually falls on the other side, so it gets lifted over and then it piles. So in this picture, the wind was coming the wind was coming this way, and as it went over the fence, it dropped its snow and caused a snowdrift, a pile of snow made by the wind. So on a day when there is drifting, you will start to see snowdrifts form, piles of snow made by the wind. And fun to play in if you're a kid. Accumulation. So this person has come outside, and they are looking at their vehicle and noticing it is covered with snow. There has been a lot of accumulation, which is the amount of snow that has built up. When it's snowing and the snow lands, it doesn't go away like rain. It just starts to pile up. It starts to accumulate. And so they might say something like this on the weather. 10 to 15 centimeters of accumulation today. That means we're going to get this much snow or this much snow. It's going to land. It's going to pile up on the ground. It's going to result in a lot of accumulation. Snow day. This is my favorite kind of day in the winter. A snow day is a day when school is canceled because of snow. So in places like Canada and in some of the northern U.S. states where there is lots of snow, sometimes they decide it's just too dangerous to drive. People usually still go to work, but children are usually kept at home. So they make a decision that it's going to be a snow day. As a teacher, the night before, you think it might be a snow day because you don't know. And you have to get up early, and you have to check on the internet. And at 6:30 a.m., it might say snow day today. And then everyone gets to stay home, including the teachers, which is one of the great perks of being a teacher, I think, is that you have snow days. Very, very fun, very, very enjoyable. You can have a nap, you can do some schoolwork. I do that sometimes from home. But it's like a free day off in the middle of the winter. Very, very fun. Very, very fun. Snowplow. So a snowplow is a vehicle that pushes snow off roads. I should say off the roads, but off roads. This is a large truck with a blade on the front. It actually is a dump truck, usually in my area. So the back of the truck is usually filled with sand or a mixture of salt and sand or salt. And then the front has a blade. So as they push the snow off the road, a little trickle of salt and sand or sand falls, and there's a spinner, and it spreads it out. So you will often see the snowplow removing snow, but also salting or sanding the road to make it safer. Snowplows come in all different shapes and sizes. But in my area, the ones that they use on the roads look exactly like this. Really, really big, with a really big blade in the front. So salt and sand. So I just mentioned salt and sand. This is a common sight in the winter when they can get down to the pavement. So if you put salt and sand are material spread to improve traction on icy surfaces. So salt will melt ice and sand will give you traction. And so the two materials are often used in the winter to melt the ice on the roads and to give traction. The problem is salt doesn't really melt snow that well. Like salt will melt ice, but it doesn't really melt snow that well. So we usually get to a point where you can't see the pavement, and they're just putting down a lot of sand in order to the snow's less slippery when there's some sand.
There's some sand in it.
A snow shovel. A tool used to move snow by hand, and this is a special kind of shovel. It's usually quite big and wide. It's usually quite light because it's made out of plastic. Snow isn't very heavy. It's not as heavy as dirt. So when you use a shovel in dirt, the shovel needs to be made out of metal. But when you're shoveling snow, you can use a plastic shovel. And you use that to move snow by hand, which is how many people clear their driveway. An ice scraper is a tool used to remove ice from car windows. So it's quite common in the winter. When you drive your car, you have heat inside. And then when you stop driving, the snow lands on the windows, but eventually it melts and freezes because your car is still warm. So the next morning, often there will be ice, and you have to use an ice scraper to remove ice from car windows. And then we also have what is called a snow brush. It's quite common. If you look at this snow brush, which is used to clear snow from a vehicle, it actually has a little ice scraper on the end, a little green ice scraper. It's actually more common to have an ice scraper at one end and then the brush at the other. That's how our snow brushes look. They have an ice scraper on the end of the handle and a brush on the other end, but used to clear snow from a vehicle. And I think you've seen me do this in one or two videos at least. Donuts, this is something you should never do. Spinning a car in circles on snow or ice. So if you have a rear-wheel drive car, this is very easy to do. If you have an all-wheel drive car with traction control, this is impossible. If you have a front-wheel drive vehicle, you can do this, but you pretty much need to go in reverse. You're going to have to look up a video to see what this actually looks like. But if you turn really sharp in a parking lot, like if